but I do know the first slide, and it's a story about a young girl. At the time, she was 13 years old, and I met her in the University of Arizona ward for children with cancer. And it was a very special meeting, and I returned to California, and it turned out that she became one of the participants in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And as you probably know, the Make-A-Wish Foundation allows gravely ill children to have a wish with them and their family. The most popular wish nowadays is to buy a computer. It has been Disneyland or meeting a famous movie star or an athlete or some personality such as that. Well, after we returned to California, we were informed that Taryn's wish was to come with her mother, father, older sister, and herself to California and, quote, gallop a horse on the beach of California. So the Make-A-Wish Foundation made this possible, and my wife Anna and myself also kind of facilitated it. And the upshot of the story is that she came to California for a period of 5 days, and she had 4 days with professional horse riding people near Point Reyes, California, one of the most beautiful areas of Northern California. We had 2 Tibetan people seeking political asylum staying at our home at the time, and it was a beautiful spring day in 2002. And so we decided, look, we'll take a ride over to the beach and see if we can find the family. And we took the 2-hour drive over, and sure enough, there they were on the beach, and they were just finished saddling up their horses and were ready to go out for their first day ride. And so I asked the people, I said, well, how long do you think you all will be out? And they said, about 2 hours. And I said, well, that's great. We'll take a hike, and we'll meet you back here at the parking lot in 2 hours, and we'll go out and have lunch afterwards. And so that's what happened. And at the lunch, we found it to be such a wonderful family. The young girl, Taryn, was suffering from leukemia, and she was on oral pain medication, but they were about as happy as a family could possibly get. I invited them to come by and visit us on the way home to the airport, and they said maybe, which we all know means no. But actually, on Thursday night, they phoned up, and they said they would be happy to come over, and they came over. We had another lunch together, and they related a wonderful story to us. After 2 days, the horse people went to the family and said, look, Taryn and her daddy are wonderful horse people. The mother and older sister are not so hot. So why don't the mother and older sister go shopping, and then we can take Taryn and her dad on the type of horseback riding that they can handle. So everybody was happy. On the 3rd day, they went around the mountains around Point Reyes National Seashore, and on the 4th day, she got her actual wish, which, as I told you, was to, quote, gallop a horse on the beach of California. And her dad was galloping alongside of her, and with an Instamatic camera, he took this wonderful photograph of his daughter. And all I can think of whenever I see that photograph is the term freedom and the term joy. We made wonderful friends with the family, and I go back to Birmingham, Alabama each November for a charitable event. And we made arrangements to go back a day early in the fall of 2002 so that we could share dinner with Taryn and her family. 3 days prior to going back to Alabama, Taryn's remission ended, and she took ill. And so we landed in Birmingham, Alabama. Instead of going to a restaurant in Birmingham, we drove the 2.5 hours to her bedside where she was with hospice. I went over to her bedside, and I put my hand lightly on her shoulder, and Mother said, please don't touch her, because her whole body was sensitized to pain. And so I stuck my index finger out by her bedside, and she grasped my hand with her hand. And I stayed by her bedside for probably 2 or 3 hours. And then I knew that it was time for me to go. I knew it was time to leave, and I also knew in my heart that it was probably the last time that I would see Taryn. And so I gently, as I possibly could, tried to pull away from her. And even the gentle pull aroused her, and she woke up from her deep slumber and had what I call a moment of total clarity. And she said to me, quote, Mr. Grace, I want you to continue to stand up against injustice around the world in my name for the rest of your life. And she passed away the next morning. And I promised I would. And so that's what I try and do, is to carry the message of these young people who I have had the privilege of meeting over these 20 years that we've had our foundation, and try and bring us towards a more just, more equitable world. And so in Taryn's name, we try and accomplish that.